Welcome back in, everybody, to Tide Talk Live. Stacey Blackwood, joined as always by my good buddy Jake Thomas, as we get you primed and ready for Alabama's 2023 SEC Open against the Ole Miss Rebels. Big time matchup in Tuscaloosa on Saturday afternoon at 2:30 on CBS. Cannot wait for that matchup, Jake. A lot to be excited about, a lot to talk about as this game approaches, and we're going to dive into all the details. You can see our lineup for today. We're going to look at keys to victory, players to watch, and then our score predictions. So that's all that is on tap for this episode. But Jake, we're recording this on Friday night before the game, a little late in the week. But that's how our schedules worked out this week. But how you doing? How's your week been? And I cannot wait to talk about this matchup.
Yeah, Stacey, man, it's been a great week. It's kind of been one of them weird feeling type of weeks because it's just be honest, I'm not sure what type of Alabama team we're going to see Saturday. Half of me feels like we're going to see a completely different team, and we're going to be like, okay, where's this team been at all season? And then the other side of me is like, well, I know what we got, and it's not that great. So it's just been kind of a weird week. So we'll talk about it, but that's how I'm feeling right now.
Yeah, it's I don't remember a game week feeling like this in a very, very long time. So anxious to kind of jump into the discussion and kind of talk about everything that is involved with this matchup, because it is a huge matchup, Jake. It's a very important matchup, I believe, or important game for Coach Saban in Alabama as far as what the rest of the season could look like. So we'll talk all about that. But make sure you do like, share, and subscribe today, and jump in the comment section and give us your score predictions for Alabama versus Ole Miss. Cannot wait to see what those are from all you guys. And thank you so much for subscribing to the channel and liking the video and just being a part of our brand here at Tide Talk Live. We certainly appreciate that. All right, Jake, as we look at this game, we're obviously going to start with the keys to victory, Jake. And what I like to do and what we like to do is look at it from each side of the football for Alabama. So keys to victory for the Alabama offense, Jake. I think we could spend a lot of time on this. This is obviously the side of the football that has been the side that has garnered the most attention throughout this week and throughout the season, really. So, Jake, as Alabama gets ready for Ole Miss, really the tipping point of the season for Alabama, what is the key for success for Alabama's offense?
Stacey, I'm sure you're in agreement with me. It starts at the offensive line. I mean, the offensive line. We have preached and harped all season about how we feel like it's going to be. It's going to be a different offensive line. It's going to be more physical. They even said themselves they're going to be more physical, and we've talked about that till we're blue in the face. But it has not happened yet. I mean, just look at last week against USF. I mean, they're 260-pound defensive linemen, and we can't even get a daggone push against 260-pound linemen. And our guys are 360 plus. So that is very concerning. And this is SEC play. So, the offensive line has got to get better. They've got to get more physical. They got to get more angrier. And Tyler Booker said that they're playing pissed off after the Texas loss. If that's playing pissed off, what I saw last week, then just go back to how he was before the Texas game, because it wasn't pretty at all. Of course, he wasn't out there; he was hurt, but he'll be back this week, I feel like. So maybe it'll change, but I feel like it all has got to start with the offensive line this weekend.
Yeah, I mean that's a great point. I mean, everything is predicated on how the offensive line performs, whether that's pass protection, run blocking. The entire its success is all involved with how the offensive line plays. But I'm even going to go a different direction, Jake. Even though I absolutely agree with you that it starts up front with the offensive line, but what does the coaching staff do? What does Tommy Rees do, Jake? I mean, they've named Jalen Milroe the starting quarterback on Monday. I felt like that was a very interesting decision, Coach Saban, to kind of come out and say, he's our guy, he's our quarterback. He's even doubled down on that throughout the week, whether that's been with Chris Lowe of ESPN or Pat McAfee. So he's kind of doubled down on the fact that Milroe is the quarterback. He doesn't have anything to prove. He's their guy moving forward. Okay, so what does that mean? Does that mean you're going to tailor this offense to what Jalen Milroe does best? If so, we need to see more RPO. We need to see more zone read. We need to see some rollouts instead of three-step dropbacks and waiting on the pocket collapse around him. So what does Tommy Rees and that offensive coaching staff do from a game plan perspective to help Jalen Milroe, to help the offensive line, kind of come together and be a more cohesive unit, because that's who it's up to, Jake. Look, Alabama's recruited 4 and 5 star prospects across the board year after year after year. They got dudes, Jake. It's up to the coaching staff to put those guys in the best position to be successful. And so my eyes are going to be on Tommy Rees and what the game plan is for Jalen Milroe and that offense.
That's a great point too, Stacey, because I feel like the game planning has not been suitable for, especially the first couple of weeks for Jalen Milroe. You know, his one of his best assets is his legs, and him standing in a pocket and just waiting for it to collapse around him. That's not getting the best out of Jalen Milroe, I feel like. So getting him on RPOs, I saw something today that has come out. Stats have come out through the first 3 weeks of the season, and Alabama out of the SEC quarterbacks, RPO plays, they're like at 10, like 11%. I think that is lowest in the SEC per all the other quarterbacks in the league.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't do a lot of RPOs, but that is where his strength lies at. It's where it's going to be at. So if this offense is going to start clicking under Jalen Milroe, we've got to help him out a little bit and get the pocket moving, get him scrambling out, out of the pocket, looking downfield, do some QB powers, stuff like that, to get him in more of a feel of the game than what he has been.
No doubt about it. No, I mean, there's no question about that, Jake. And I think that Jalen Milroe is a more than capable quarterback for Alabama to lead them to where they want to go, as long as they manipulate the offense to use his skill set and what he does best, because all the other parts of his game are going to grow as he continues to play and gain experience. So he's just going to get better, but you have to kind of nurture him along the way if you're going to
Mm-hmm.
play a guy that has this particular skill set. Jake, Tommy Rees makes a lot of money. And
Yeah.
so it's up to him. I mean, look, you send me a quarterback that can run a legit 4.40, that's 6'2", 6'3", 220 plus pounds, and can throw it 50 yards on a rope and drop it in a bucket. I can work with that, Jake. I can,
Mm-hmm.
sure. Does he struggle a little bit with the intermediate passing game and reading coverages from the defense? Yeah, but you know what? He does enough things well that I got something to work with if I'm a highly paid offensive coordinator at Alabama. So to me, it's up to Coach Reese and that offensive staff to put Milroe and that offense in the best position to be successful. And that is my key to victory for the Alabama offense. It all is predicated on what Tommy Reese's game plan is for Jalen Milroe and that offense.
Yeah, I agree 100%, Stacey. And also my key to victory about the offensive line, and it goes inside with your offensive play calling and getting Tommy Rees game plan, getting some help to Caden Proctor on the left hand side too. That's got to help. We've got to keep a extra tight end on that side. I feel like as well, just to get him a little bit more help on that side, because he's still young. He's still trying to get up to game speed, but I feel like he's going to be a great tackle. He just got to get more playing time, kind of like Jalen Milroe.
No doubt about it. I certainly agree with that wholeheartedly. They've got to be able to be willing to maybe chip the guy who's, especially in past situations, chip the guy that's lined up across from Caden Proctor, or his responsibility, because Proctor, like you mentioned, he's learning the speed of the game at this at
Mm-hmm.
this level of college football, Jake. So it's taking him a second. He's either a half step too slow on his get off, or whatever it is. He's just getting beat by those speed rushers. So
Right.
chipping with CJ Dupree or Amari Niblack or Danny Lewis, Robbie Utes, any of those 4 tight ends that are capable of playing, chip them, give him just another half second to get his feet under him and get ready and in position to make plays. Because Caden Proctor, like you said, is going to be a great tackle for Alabama before it's said and done. But like Milroe, it's the coach's responsibility to make
Mm-hmm.
sure that they're doing the part in putting him in the best position to be
Right.
successful. So once again, it's up to the coaching staff to do what they need to do. Look, the roster is what it is. The players are who they are. So now it's the coach's responsibility to use the hand that they have been dealt.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it boils down to. And I think that's what I mean. To me, it's this is Tommy Reese's moment.
Yeah.
The Alabama offense has a lot of people are talking about it, rightfully so. It looked horrible against South Florida. There was moments against Texas. It looked just out of sync and out of chemistry, like there was no identity, no real focus on what they wanted to do offensively. So it's time for Tommy Rees to earn his keep. He's a young guy with a bright future, I believe, as a play caller and as a coach in college football. And this weekend against Ole Miss, he can really put his stamp on this Alabama offense.
I agree 100%, Stacey. I'm ready to see how, what kind of game plan we come out with. And I'm excited for the game to get here. I'm getting more and more confident as it gets closer, but, it all starts with that game plan, like you said.
Yeah, and look, Jake, I hate to, we're fixing to wrap up this segment, but I hate to be Debbie Downer, but Jake, if Tommy Rees is unwilling to make the slot changes needed for Jalen Milroe to be the quarterback, then Alabama has no hope of accomplishing anything of great value in this season.
Nope.
They're not going to beat the elite teams if they keep dropping Jalen Milroe back in three-step drops and praying that Caden Proctor can block his guy and hoping Jalen Milroe just magically learns how to read the defense overnight.
Right.
If nothing has changed, Jake, then it's going to be a long season for Alabama. I'm not saying they won't win, a bunch of games, but they're not going to accomplish the goals that they expect or that Alabama fans expect either.
Right. And that goal is to win a national championship. I mean, that is the goal. And
the first goal is to win the West and make it to Atlanta. That's the first goal. Jake, I'm not sure they can do that if they don't change their game plan.
Nope. If they lose to Ole Miss, they're already behind the 8 ball.
No doubt. I mean, it starts this weekend. The 2023 season starts this weekend for Alabama.
Absolutely. Yep.
All right, Jake, as we move on now to the defensive side of the football and look at what the Alabama defense needs to do in order to have success against Ole Miss on Saturday. A great Ole Miss offense led by Jackson Dart, Lane Kiffin obviously helping call the plays there as the head coach of the Rebels. Jake, I don't even know where to begin here because there's so many ways that Ole Miss can beat you because of how well they throw the football, how well they run the football, and the multitude of playmakers that they have.
Yeah. I mean, they're loaded on that offensive side of the ball. And, Jackson Dart, a lot of people wasn't sure if he was the guy. Last year he had his ups and downs, but this year he's been spot on. Of course, Judkins is just a phenomenal running back, but he's been kind of banged up so far. So he's not really had a chance to get going yet. But to me, the key of victory for Alabama is limiting explosive plays for Ole Miss. If they can get a couple of 3 and outs and the critical thing, I was on Locked on Ole Miss doing my preview with Steven a couple of nights ago, and I was telling him, I said for both teams, honestly, it's the turnover battle. I feel like if Alabama can win the turnover battle, they can win this game. So I feel like we're going to need a couple of those turnovers on the defensive side. Get our offense in some good field position to start a drive, and I think we'll be successful.
Yeah, I mean, it can't go like the Texas game went, where we gave up 5 or 6 explosive plays, and you just couldn't recover. So
Right.
it's all about limiting the explosive plays. But I think it's going to be very important to slow down Quinshon Judkins and the rushing attack from Ole Miss. And you can't dismiss what Jackson Dart has done on the ground this season, Jake. He's ran it 32 times for 213 yards. He has a long of 68 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he's actually Ole Miss's leading rusher at this point in the season. So slowing down Dart and Judkins in the running game, to me, is what's going to be critical for Alabama, because if they can get Ole Miss, I think Ole Miss is like 3rd in the SEC in first down offensive wins. So where they get, I think it's 3 or more yards on first down is what they consider a win for an offense. So if Alabama can get Ole Miss in 2nd and long and 3rd and long, I think that helps this kind of pin their ears back, be a little more aggressive in a pass rushing situations. And that's really where the game is going to be won for Alabama. Don't let Judkins or Dart pick up 3, 4, 5 yards on first down carries, because that's going to make it a long day for the Alabama defense.
Yeah, absolutely, Stacey. And you hear on every broadcast Alabama's on, you always hear, when a team's like 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, you always hear the announcers say, okay, here, Alabama loves situations like this because, like you mentioned, they can pin their ears back and they can just rush the quarterback and get everybody, get that quarterback just all flustered because he's got, six guys coming at him. He don't know who to go to real quick. But if you get 3rd and 5, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3, it's almost, I'm not going to say it's an automatic guarantee, but it helps the offense a lot. They got a lot better chance of getting a first down when it's a short yardage situation like that. So keeping Ole Miss to 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10 situations is going to be critical in this game.
Yeah, I mean that is the key to me. Like that's the point of this segment is what the key is, and it's making sure Ole Miss has long conversions on third down. They,
Mm-hmm.
they have to be in third and long, or it could be a long day defensively for Alabama because what Ole Miss does, and everybody thinks when they think of a Lane Kiffin offense and Ole Miss, they think of them throwing it all over the yard. They have a physical rushing attack, Jake.
Mm-hmm.
Dart's a physical runner for quarterback. Judkins is a physical back, and you could argue, Jake, that when healthy, and he's not 100% healthy, but when Judkins is 100% healthy, he might be the best running back in college football. So
Mm-hmm.
it's really important to slow down that rushing attack, like you said, because making sure it's third and long is going to be huge for this defense. Because then pin your ears back, play some coverage, and maybe force some turnovers from Jackson Dart, and that would be a game changer for this defense to set Jalen Milroe up in that offense in short scoring situations.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like the defense is going to have to, have a key moment in this game tomorrow, and I feel like this defense overall has the talent and it can, and I just, the defense is going to have to play great though because there's so many playmakers on that offensive side of the ball for Ole Miss.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Jake. All right, as we wrap up the keys to victory, Jake, our next segment we're going to be talking about players to watch, and we like to pick a player from the offensive side of the football, a player from the defensive side of the football that we believe is going to make a big impact on the game this weekend. So, Jake, offensively, who are you going with as your player to watch?
You know, I've been thinking about this, and I feel like there's a ton of guys that can take the offensive player to watch the week for me, but I'm going with the guy who I feel like has pretty much solidified himself as running back one right now, and that is Roydell Williams. We talked all off season about the stable of backs and personally, and I didn't want to be that type of guy, but personally, with all the talent we got at running back, I was like, where does Roydell fit in with this team? I think he found his click last week. I mean, he was running physical. We always knew he was a physical guy, and he's always been more of a third down back. But man, you know, I hate that Jace kind of lost it last week when he just let his guy just go right past him and not really block on that pass situation. But Wardell come in and just ran the ball physical. I mean, he was shifty. I mean, I haven't seen Roydell be that shifty in it, since it's been Alabama. I'm like, man, okay, this kid is legit. So I'm going to keep my eye on him. I feel like if he can have at least 100 yards on the ground for Alabama this week, it's really going to help open up the offense and get the offense in a groove. Uh,
I love that pick because, like you mentioned, Rodell played his best game of his Alabama career last week. When Alabama needed somebody to step up,
right.
Rodell Williams stepped up for him. So that was great to see. And I felt like he just kind of got better as the game went on last week. He was unbelievable in the fourth quarter. And I know it was South Florida, but he stepped up when they needed him to step up, and he did a great job. So I love that pick. I definitely think he's going to be in for a really good day. And I would not be surprised to see some of the younger backs receive more significant reps with the first team this week either, Jake. But the guy I'm going to go with offensively is Isaiah Bond. I think
Mhm.
I think Isaiah Bond, you're going to start seeing him get more touches, not just in deep vertical passing games, but in screen game, jet sweeps. I think he's a guy that you could see Alabama try to get the ball to between 8 times every single game because he's just so explosive with the ball in his hands. So I'm looking for Isaiah Bond to step up and have a big game for Alabama offensively.
Yeah, man, I love Isaiah Bond. It feels like he's been the most consistent wide receiver, and the whole unit as a wide receiver has been very consistent this year. I feel like, um, but Isaiah, man, he just got that, he just got that it factor, to me. I feel like he's ready to make a a big play at any moment. And I agree with you. I would love to see him get a lot more touches in like jet sweeps, screen passes type deals. Because once he gets in the open field, you're not going to catch him. So if he's got some space, he's gone and he's going to the house. So we've got to get more creativity for him and get him in situations where he's wide open.
No doubt, no doubt. All right, Jake. Now defensively, I know this is such a weird game because of the way Ole Miss plays offense. But Jake, who's a guy you're watching defensively as a player?
I'm going with another guy who I felt like had one of his best games this year, and that was Tim Smith on the defensive line. You know, another guy we felt like needed to step up this year and start playing up to his potential, because I feel like that kid has got all the potential in the world. He just has not lived up to it yet. He had like 5 tackles in the South Florida game last week. Had one of his better games in the Alabama uniform, I felt like.
I
And
think it was his best game.
yeah, I agree. So I'm hoping to see more of that, because we talk about trench warfare, and every game is won in the trenches. And you know, Alabama used to be so good at dominating both sides of the ball in the trenches. It just seems like we hadn't had that in the last couple of years on the defensive side. We need somebody on the defensive line to step up and be that playmaker. Jaheim Otis is awesome, but I feel like after him, it's just kind of just mellows out. I feel like Tim Smith can be another guy that when the offensive lineman is opposed to him, it's like, crap, we got to worry about this guy on this end, this guy on this end, because both of them, if they get through, is going to get our quarterback. I feel like Tim Smith can live up to his potential. He's going to be a stud in the making. I feel like I'm hoping that it starts this weekend, because we're going to have to get some pass rush on Jackson Dart.
Yeah, Tim Smith racked up 9 tackles as a
God,
defensive lineman last week. So, yeah,
nice.
incredible performance for him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's another guy that I thought really stepped up for a week where it was really a lackluster team performance. As I went back and watched the game for the second time, I noticed that there was sprinkled in among the poor team effort was players stepping up and being the type of players that need to be, like Roydell Williams, like Tim Smith. So Malachi Moore, Deontay Lawson, all those guys really stepped up and played well for Alabama. So that was nice to see. There's always some positive you can take from games, especially if you go back and watch it the
Right.
second time around and you already know the outcome. You're not outcome oriented like you are when the game is live. So
Yeah.
yeah, definitely Tim Smith played a heck of a game for Alabama last Saturday. Now, like Coach Saban said, it's all about consistency and performance, and that's what it's always been with Tim Smith. And if he comes out and plays like that again this week, he certainly has the talent to be one of the more disruptive interior defensive linemen in the SEC. So hopefully he can continue that hot play against Ole Miss. But I wanted to go with a defensive lineman, and I was going to go with like a Jaheim Otis maybe. But since you went with Tim Smith, I'm going to look elsewhere. I'm going to go with Jihad Campbell, Jake. And
Yeah.
he's a guy who's, he was injured to start the season. They've kind of slowly worked him back into receiving some snap. I think he played about 20% of the snaps last week against South Florida. But I think with how athletic Ole Miss is, you might see more of Jihad Campbell this week alongside Deontay Lawson. So I'm going to look out for Jihad Campbell this week and see if he can make some plays as he continues to learn this defense, become more comfortable, become a more experienced player. Hopefully Jihad Campbell can be that great number 2 punch with Deontay Lawson, who's having an All-American type season for Alabama at inside linebacker.
Yeah, man. Deontay Lawson has been outstanding so far, and we knew he would. We was just curious on who was going to be that second guy inside linebacker. I feel like Campbell. He started out kind of injury bugged a little bit, haven't really got into his groove yet. But once he does, I feel like he's going to take over. Trez Marshall has done great. There was a couple of plays last week he kind of missed in the backfield, but he's done well enough. But I feel like Jihad Campbell gives us the best chance there inside linebacker once he gets fully healthy, and I feel like he's going to be that next guy alongside Deontay Lawson once he gets there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. All right, Jake, we have reached everyone's favorite part of the show, the unsolicited score predictions for Alabama Ole Miss. Jake, I don't know about you. I have went back and forth on this game. I don't know, 4 or 5 times every day this week, and
Yeah.
I think probably around, I guess, last night I kind of come to the conclusion that I had for this week, and I can't wait to tell you what that is. But for now, Jake, what is your score prediction and kind of how the game will play out on Saturday afternoon?
I feel like early on it's just going to be a good match and good rounded game of football. Both defenses are pretty good early on, and then finally, I feel like somebody's going to get find some success offensively and get the score rolling. Um, you know, I feel like Alabama can win this game, and the spread's only 7. And I've been going back and forth on this too. And my prediction on the show on Locked on Ole Miss was 30-27 Alabama. But we do picks on the side, so I'm trying to get a double win here. I'm trying to get the Ole Miss cover and then the Alabama win to get the double. But I would love for Alabama to come out and win 30-10 or something like that. I know it's not going to happen, but I do feel like if Alabama puts its complete game together, like I know they can, I don't think anybody in the country can hang with them because they just don't. It's Alabama. Alabama has just the far superior talent. It's just they got to get mentally right. The coaching staff has got to have the right game plan set in place. All that has not come together yet. But I do know one thing: it's going to come. It may not be this week, but eventually, sometime this season, this team is going to start clicking on offense, and it's going to be a juggernaut. I hope it starts this week, but I think it's going to be a low scoring 30-27. Alabama gets Will Rocker a field goal range late in the game and kick a game winner.
God, could you imagine the pucker factor in that one?
Yeah, my heart be out of my chest. Yeah.
Yeah, Jake. This, like I mentioned, this I've went back and forth on this game, not only from a spread perspective, but also would Alabama even win? And after a lot of thought, Jake, and I'm going to preface this by saying, if, like I talked about earlier in the show, Tommy Rees does decide to kind of help Jalen Milroe with a different type of game plan, then I think Alabama wins and they cover. I really do. I think they cover. But Jake, if it's the same old what we've been seeing, then it's going to be a tight game and it could go either way. So, but I'm going to go with, I really believe that Nick Saban and Tommy Rees have gotten together this week with Jalen Milroe and said, look, Jalen, we know what you like to do. We know what you're good at right now. We're going to game plan for that. We're going to work with what you have right now while we continue to kind of mold you and develop you into becoming an all-around quarterback. So I think they're going to do that. I think you're going to see more RPO, more read option, more QB powers, which I think Jalen Milroe would be excellent at, while still keeping the play action, deep passing game open, which is also something that he excels at. So with all that said, Jack, I know that was really convoluted, but I think Alabama wins. I think they look really, really good. I think they look better than they've looked all season long. And I think the score is actually going to, the game is not going to be as close as what my final score predicts, because I think Ole Miss maybe backdoors a touchdown towards the end of the game. But I think Alabama wins 34-23. Nice. I think they get an 11-point win. And like I said, I think Ole Miss scores late to make it. I have a gut feeling that Nick Saban has sent a message to his team, and either they respond this week with how I think they're going to, or it's going to be a long season, Jake. That's just how I feel. It's either Alabama comes out and plays Alabama football against Ole Miss, or it's just a sign of things to come, that it's going to be a long road here in 2023. But I'm optimistic, Jake. I'm excited that they decided to name Milroe the starter early in the week. Let him get the entire week of, hey, I'm the guy. They believe in me. They're changing up the game plan a little bit to fit what I can do. Now he's playing with more confidence because he's more comfortable. The offensive line has something to prove, and Alabama comes out, plays well for 60 minutes, and gets a big 34-23 win over Ole Miss and gets rocking and rolling here in the SEC portion of the season.
Man, I love that score prediction, man. I hope that holds true because there's, I feel like I mentioned, these guys can do it. They have the talent. They just got to get it correct mentally, and the coaches got a game plan real, to fit the players that are on the field. So
Yeah, and a couple other side notes that I'm not even sure that even matters, but Lane Kiffin is like 8-20 against ranked teams as a head coach. So,
mhm.
History doesn't favor him from that side of it. Now, I know that doesn't really mean a lot, but Jake, one thing about Kiffin is he presses a lot. Jake, he wants
Yeah,
to beat Nick Saban in Alabama more than he would want Ole Miss to win a national championship.
yeah, absolutely.
I'm serious.
Hmm.
If you and he would lie, but if you ask Lane Kiffin tonight, would you rather beat Nick Saban tomorrow but you don't win the West, or you lose to Alabama tomorrow but you still win the West? I guarantee you, if he was hooked up to a lie detector test, it would be I'd rather beat Nick Saban in Alabama.
Hmm. Absolutely.
So I feel like Kiffin's going to press more than what he normally does, which he always does anyway.
Right.
And Alabama takes advantage of it. Couple turnovers, couple picks. Still looking for that first defensive score that could happen. So this is kind of the week. Like I said at the beginning of the show, it's the tipping point of the season for Alabama. Either they look like the Alabama team that they should be,
Mhm.
or it's the same old that we've been seeing, and it's going to set up for a long and painful remainder of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think it's going to be though. I think the team responds well, like you mentioned, and like we have said, and you just reiterated that the season starts now. So everything that we have, that our goals in front of us are still there. So there's
Yep.
no reason to drop your head and be discouraged. Get behind the team, as a Bama fan, and let's just do what we do our part tomorrow and cheer in the victory.
No doubt about it. All right, well, that's going to wrap up our show as we preview and predict Alabama versus Ole Miss. You can catch it on Saturday at 2:30 on CBS. And thank the good Lords, no Gary and Brad.
Yes, thank
It's the
you.
CBS B team, whoever that is. I don't even know who it is, but
I don't even know. It don't
it's
matter.
not Brad and Gary. No Gary
Yeah,
Danielson. Hallelujah.
yeah.
So hey, small victory there before the game even starts.
That's right. And I also want to mention real quick, there will be no biscuits with Bama
Yep.
this week. Stacey's got some stuff to take care of, so we'll be back hopefully next week for sure.
Yep. All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please do like, share, and subscribe today, and jump in the comments and give us your keys to victory, your players to watch, and your score predictions for Alabama versus Ole Miss. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, roll tide.
Roll Tide.